All right, so now we're going to do these problems with actual data. So hopefully it will make a little bit more sense. I'll have some practice problems for you also on Canvas. So there's not very many problems for your actual homework because, again, all of these problems are 5 steps that you can see right here. So this is the z-test. You can use this when you know your population standard deviation, sigma. Again, that's not very likely, but it's just the way we start these problems. In 8.2, we'll use the t-chart rather than the z-chart. Okay, so here's how it works. Z equals x x bar, because it's your sample mean, minus mu over sigma over the square root of n. This number right here is from step 1. Whatever your k value is in step 1, that's where your mu goes, because it says mu equals some number in step 1. This is your sample mean that you'll get from your problem, standard deviation, and sample size. All right, so this will be step 3, which you can see down here. Technically, it doesn't matter if you flip-flop step 2 and step 3, but normally it goes to step 3. All right, so this is the formula you're going to use for all of these in 8.2. So here's our 5 steps. State the hypotheses and identify the claim. That's what we practice. Find the critical values. That's where we drew the picture and shaded in the critical region. Compute the test value. That's this right here. Make a decision to reject or not reject the null hypothesis, H sub 0, and then you have to write about it. So again, we have to write a lot in chapter 8. All right, so here's how it's going to work. A researcher wishes to see if the mean number of days that a basic low-price small automobile sits on a dealer's lot is 29. A sample of 30 automobile dealers has a mean of 30.1 days for those automobiles. At alpha equals 0.05, test the claim that the mean is greater than 29 days. The standard deviation of the population is 3.8 days. All right, so lots of information. Step 1 is always I forgot H sub 0 already. H sub 0 mu equals whatever it says we're checking. It says test the claim that it's greater than 29 days. So H sub 0 is equals 29. H sub 1 then is greater than 29, and that one is our claim. Okay, so we've used our 29. Maybe you want to go back and cross those out. Okay, so that is step 1. Sometimes most people will look for the word claim. If it's in there, great. Some people write that down first. Since it's greater than, that has to be H sub 1, because H sub 0 is always an equal. In this book, okay? In other books, since this is greater, this one would change to less than or equal to. But in our book, it's always equals. All right. Step 2 is what we did in 8.1 on that last page. We drew it. Alpha equals 0.05. It's a greater than, so it needs to go over here. So you have to do step 1 to know what your picture looks like in step 2. Since it's greater than, you're going to put it over here. Again, look up 0.05 in the big part of your chart. You're going to get negative 1.65, which means this one is positive 1.65. So that's all you have to draw for step 2. If you don't want to draw the picture, you need to put CV for critical value equals 1.65. Step 3 is where we calculate our test statistic, or our test value from up above. So Z equals X bar. That's our sample mean, 30.1 days. Minus mu, which again comes from right here. Right now it says mu is 29. That's what we're testing. Over population standard deviation is 3.8 over the square root of n, which is 30 for our sample size. Now, obviously, it is very important what order you subtract these in. If you would have put them in the opposite direction, you would get a negative number. If this is colored in on the right side, you should not get a negative number for your Z value. Okay, so you need to make sure greater than, right-hand side, your bigger number better be over here. Okay, again, I want you to plug all of this in at one time so we're not rounding a whole bunch. So put this in parentheses and this in parentheses. We're going to round to 2 decimal places. You get 1.59. Technically, it doesn't matter how much you round. You just need to know how this number fits into here. Okay, so 1.59 would be on this side. So it is not in the critical region. So since it's not in the critical region, we do not reject H sub 0. What this means is statistically, we cannot say that it's greater than 29. Since we're not rejecting, we're saying this one is true. We did not prove that the mean is equal to 29. That's the biggest part of here. We did not prove anything. Based on our sample of 30 cars, we cannot say that the mean should be greater than 29. That's what we're saying. We're not saying, okay, therefore the mean has to be 29. We are not proving that. We are not showing that. We just can't support this claim. So that's how step 5 goes. Step 4 is always about the null hypothesis. You either reject or don't. Step 5 is always about the claim. So since we're not rejecting this, that means we think this one is true. So what we're going to write is there is not enough evidence to support the claim. That the mean number of days is more than 29. Again, we did not prove that it's equal to 29. We just cannot say, based on our evidence, that it's greater than 29. Okay. Oh, wait. I forgot the greater than part. Okay. So again, we did not prove that it's equal. We just cannot say, based on our numbers, that it's greater than 29. So that's what your 5 steps look like. Step 4 has to go with H sub 0. Step 5 has to be talked about the claim. All right, I was really mean, but first of all, this should say 35 because I forgot a number. And I'll just tell you so you don't have to work it out. X bar, your mean is 75.43. Okay, so again, we read through this. First step, H sub 0 is always mu equal. So you need to look through here, and here's what it says. A researcher claims that the average cost of men's athletic shoes is less than $80. So that's where the 80 goes. Okay. So again, H sub 0 is equal. H sub 1 is less than, and that was his claim based on the problem. It says it claims that it's less than 80. Step 2, I'm going to draw this. This is a less than, so we need to go over here. And alpha equals 0.1. Again, we don't split it because it's just a left tail test because of the less than sign. Step 3, oh sorry, I forgot to look for that. When you look up 0.1, you get negative 1.28. So negative 1.28 is your critical value. Everything below that is in the critical region. Now we do our test value. Z equals X bar, which we figured out was 75.43, minus what we have in step 1, which is 80. Sigma, that's your population standard deviation, is 19.2. Square root of 35, since I forgot one of the numbers when I typed them in. Okay, again, parentheses, type it all in at once. You should get negative 1.41. So again, you're comparing this number to this number. It is over here. It's less than that number, which means it's in the critical region. So since it's in the critical region, that means we reject H sub 0. Okay, so this number is in the critical region, so we reject. On the front, this number was not in the critical region, so we did not reject. Step 5 talks about the claim. So we're rejecting, meaning we think this one is true. So again, did we prove that the mean is less than 80? No, we did not. But we have enough evidence to support the claim that it is. Again, based on only 35 pairs of shoes. All right, so there is enough evidence to support the claim that the mean price is less than $80. All right, so there's your 5 steps. Always h sub 0 mu equals a number, h sub 1 is greater than, less than, or not equal to. Find your claim, draw your picture, calculate your number. If it's in the critical region, we reject. If not, you do not reject. Then you got to talk about your claim in step 5. All right, last one. I'm going to do a new video so I don't run out of time.